Wait, SpongeBob! We're not cavemen! We have technology!
Technical machines have been a staple of the Pokémon franchise ever since the first generation, but the way they worked has always confused people, and the in-game visuals don't really help. Step 1. You select a TM and compatible Pokémon. Step 2. You apply the CD directly to forehead. Step 3. Learn the rest of the move. Step 4. The TM gets destroyed. The entire process is weird, but that last part in particular stands out. Why does the TM just inexplicably stop working after a single use? Some people over the years have come up with bizarre theories to explain this, ranging from saying that you upload the move into a Pokémon to how the TMs have single-use installation checks. But this doesn't really explain HMs, which function similarly but are reusable, or why the TMs themselves suddenly became reusable in Generation 5 and became single-use again once more in Generation 9. It's all kinds of inconsistent. In truth, there is no in-universe justification for how TMs work, and there likely never will be one, because the actual reason why TMs break after each use is purely due to game design reasons. So let's talk about it. The reason why TMs were single-use for so much of the series' early lifespan can be traced back to the original design philosophies of Red and Blue. Back then, Pokémon had certain design philosophies similar to traditional JRPGs, one of which was resource management. Pokémon weren't only considered your friends and travel companions, but also your party members for battle, and utility tools for exploring the overworld. Each of a Pokémon's 4 move slots is a valuable resource, which is carefully controlled by the designers, as they directly dictate a player's ability to defeat opponents and progress through the game. One notable thing about Generation 1 is how strangely barren most Pokemon's natural move pools were. Most Pokemon's level up move pools were mostly full of normal type moves, with 1 or 2 moves of the same type as the Pokemon. A few lucky individuals will learn a move of a different type from themselves, and there were even some unlucky fellows who didn't even get a single same type to move at all. This was because moves and types were viewed differently back then. Do you remember what I said about Pokemon originally being designed more similarly to a traditional JRPG? Well, think of moves like the various attacks you can perform in these kind of games. Normal type moves are like the standard attacks which were used to deal acceptable neutral damage to most enemies, and the various typed moves would be akin to the magic attacks, which interact more with the elemental system that can hit for super effective bonus damage, such as your Firaga, Argidine, Elfire, and so on. In these games, these magic moves are typically more flashy and powerful but cost a limited mana resource, while standard attacks are typically weaker but could be used freely. To replicate this effect, moves have PP, with more powerful moves having fewer uses, and level up movesets limit the usefulness of each party member and incentivize the player to diversify their team. So what happens if you get an item that can break said limit? This is what TMs do. They allow a player to equip their team with moves they otherwise cannot learn, which widens the number of advantageous matchups each Pokemon has. For example, Blastoise would ordinarily struggle against Venusaur, encouraging a player to catch a different Pokemon to cover said matchup. But by using an Ice Beam TM, Blastoise's coverage improves, and now it gains an upper hand in what would otherwise be a losing matchup. Naturally, this is a very powerful thing, so being able to repeat this infinitely could lead to some frankly ridiculous results, which turn the game into an absolute cakewalk, or at least more of one than it already is in your mind. An example of this happening can be seen in Ruby and Sapphire and their subsequent Generation 6 remakes. In these games, certain powerful TMs such as Bulk Up and Earthquake were easily obtainable with no additional effort or exploration. In the originals, this meant that you had the option to improve a single Pokemon each time relatively early on, but in the remakes, you were given free reign to give your entire team Earthquake if you chose, which would greatly reduce the difficulty of later bosses like Steven, because the number of potential counters he has now increases from the original games. Single-use TMs preserve the overall game difficulty better by providing the designers with more leeway, letting them give away powerful TMs as rewards early in the playthrough without compromising the game's overall balance. Tying into this is a secondary reason, being customization and replayability. One major design goal behind Pokemon games is that each Pokemon and each player's journey is unique. Even though the region and destination is the same, every player's team could potentially consist of 9 infinite permutations of different Pokemon, with different nicknames, IVs, EVs, and stats. And thanks to TMs, different moves too. No two journeys are identical, and this grants the games a huge amount of replayability, helping it better forge an emotional bond between player and Pokemon.
What did I say, Brayden?
On a side note, these are the exact same reasons why Nuzlockes are one of the most popular challenges among the Pokemon community, to the point where there are several content creators who basically built their entire YouTube careers around them. Maybe that's worth talking about another day. But anyways, let's get back to the point. TMs being single use also create a meaningful gameplay decision. You could choose to teach a move to strengthen your strongest fighter or to help out your weakest, to upgrade one Pokemon's existing same type move, or to widen a different Pokemon's coverage. There's no real incorrect option here, but you can only pick one option. This is what makes the choice meaningful. Back in the past, this design philosophy made sense, but as time went on, other problems began to rear their heads. One of which was hoarding. Back during generations 1 and 2, one crucial aspect of the game's resource management based gameplay was having limited bag space. This pressured players to use TMs shortly after finding them, so that we can free up the bag space for more important things later on. But when Generation 3 improved the bag and added a designated TM's pocket, this pressure was lifted, and players began to hoard or ignore the use of TMs entirely. Additionally, competitive play began rising in prominence. In competitive play, the idea of choosing only one Pokemon to teach a move to doesn't apply, as all 6 Pokemon need to be fully equipped and optimized to the best of their ability. The original form of design started becoming unnecessarily restrictive, and so the design philosophy for TMs evolved accordingly. Generation 5 pioneered the concept of reusable TMs, with a lot of care going into their placement to ensure game balance. In Black and White, you typically only find TMs of a power level appropriate for the point of the game you were currently at, which made each TM feel more like a permanent addition to a player's arsenal, and helped to reduce decision paralysis and ease competitive team building. However, this came with a major drawback. The designers could no longer give players powerful TMs early on in the game anymore. As I mentioned earlier, giving the player a powerful single-use TM creates an interesting gameplay choice, but doesn't break the game's difficulty, because you can only improve one Pokemon, but reusable TMs don't allow for that. One Pokemon having Earthquake is fine, but all 6 having Earthquake makes it a little bit too easy. It was quite apparent that some discontent began to settle in at Game Freak regarding this, because another design shift took place 3 generations later, and for a new reason. Sword and Shield introduced technical records, or TRs, which were basically the old style of single-use TMs. These coexisted alongside the reusable TMs, and generally contained much more powerful moves. This change happened because of the introduction of raids.
Let's play Raid Shadow Legends.
TRs were meant to reward players for completing higher tier raids. In theory, this allowed the designers to gain the benefits of both design styles without either of the drawbacks. But in practice, TRs just created a new problem entirely. Getting a specific TR became very difficult, because finding a specific raid that dropped your desired TR was not only annoying, but defeating the raid boss was dependent on unreliable online or NPC teammates. And even if you did beat the boss, drops were RNG based, meaning you aren't even guaranteed to get the TR you were searching after. There is also another method to obtain more TRs, but that is equally as annoying. Scattered around Galar are 7 traders who you can purchase TRs from using WAS. The problem is that each trader only stocks 5 different TRs, and their inventories change every day. Because there are a whopping 100 TRs in the game, there are going to be some days where certain TRs are just not available. And since the traders are all in different locations, you'll need to repeatedly fly across multiple different locations and multiple different days just to check for one TR that might not even be on sale that day. The Crown Tundra DLC attempts to address this issue by adding an 8th trader with 10 TRs in stock. But that's just slapping a bandage onto a wound instead of addressing the core design problem. Within their current state, TRs completely failed to fulfill their intended design goals of making the TM system more balanced than the reusable style, or more convenient than the single-use style, since their resulting random appearances made the main game's balancing more inconsistent and made competitive preparation more inconvenient. Luckily, Game Freak realized this was an issue very quickly. Merely 1 generation later, TM design changed again. Now in Scarlet and Violet, TMs are all single-use again, and TRs are done away with entirely. TMs can now be crafted using Pokemon drop materials after you unlock the respective recipe for it, which can be done via naturally obtaining your first copy of a TM and via advancing the Star Force Street storyline. Raids now award both TMs and materials, and there are no TMs which are 100% exclusively locked to raids. This change was made not only to fix Sword and Shield's various TR-related frustrations, but also to give meaning to the newly added auto battle system, as it allows you to consistently constantly farm materials for TMs. Overall, I'd say it's a much better system compared to Sword and Shields. Since TMs are now cheap enough to produce and can thus be used more freely, crafting can be conveniently done at all Pokemon centers and is not artificially time restricted, and the recipe condition allows designers to somewhat control when a player can access them for game balance. On a side note, the concept of TRs being raid exclusive rewards actually originated from Pokemon Go. Go in general had some interesting game design ideas which will later inspire other features in the main series games, raids being the most obvious ones, and to an extent also the materials as well. But this has been quite a talk. In a nutshell, the reason why TMs have been breaking one after another over the years is entirely because of game design reasons and not much else. And the reasons why they stopped breaking and later returned to breaking again are also because of game design reasons. Hey, thanks for making it all the way to the end of the video. Check this out, I've got a new proper outro now. It's pretty nice, eh? Made it all myself. Now, I can't draw to save my life, but it's amazing what you can do with the various tools you find on the internet. Anyways, I just wanted to apologize for the assorted audio inconsistencies within this video. I recently got my own mic instead of borrowing my friends all the time, and I'm not quite used to its sensitivity yet. Also, I wanted to give a quick thanks to user Defiant Drills, who was apparently the creator of these amazingly silly Jojo Rowlet pictures 4 years ago. I've loved and have been using the Jotaro one as a profile picture for all sorts of things over the years, and I just wanted to say that I really appreciate them for making these. Lastly, I also wanted to thank all of you guys. The reception to my first video was, well, it certainly surpassed expectations. 13k views, 165 comments and over 400 subscribers for an empty channel page with one video. Like, what? I wasn't expecting anybody to actually start watching me until I got like 10 videos finished or something. The statistics even showed that it went ignored for like a week before it suddenly spiked and rocketed up out of nowhere. I haven't responded to all the comments, but I've read every single one, and I love seeing everybody share their own personal stories about old Pokemon games or engage in discussions about game design. So, once again, thanks for enjoying my stuff, and I hope I can continue meeting your expectations about game design in the future. Thanks for watching all of this, and I hope to see you next time.